The world is not afraid of your potential. It's afraid of the moment you finally realize it. Because the moment you wake up, the moment you see the game for what it is, the moment you stop being soft, predictable, and emotionally available to everyone, you become someone the world can't move, can't break, and can't control. And trust me, society does not want that. It wants you obedient. It wants you doubtful. It wants you apologetic for your own strength. It wants you emotionally exposed so it can pull you like a puppet. It wants you terrified of distance, silence, and independence. Because a person who is not mentally untouchable is easy to use, but a person who becomes psychologically fortified, calm, cold, clear, strategic, difficult to manipulate, that person becomes dangerous in a world built on emotional weakness. Today, you step into that version of yourself. Let me name the things you've been silently feeling. People don't respect you until you stop being accessible. People don't value you until you walk away. People don't admire you until you stop explaining yourself. People don't listen to you until you speak less. People don't fear losing you until you stop trying to be kept. You've been taught that being soft earns love, that being available earns loyalty, that giving endlessly earns appreciation. But the truth you've always felt but never said, is that those habits made people feel entitled to your energy, not grateful for it. You thought you were being kind. You were being controlled. You thought you were being humble. You were being underestimated. You thought you were being understanding. You were being used. And the part of you that's tired, that part isn't weak. It's waking up. You've met someone like this. Maybe you were someone like this. Quiet, helpful, overgiving, always bending, always explaining, always fixing, always absorbing pain silently. People walked over them like a soft rug, until one day something shifted. They became slower to respond, harder to read, less available, more observant, more selective, less emotional, more precise. No announcement, no drama, no confrontation. Just a silent transformation that left people wondering, why can't I control them anymore? Why don't they react the same way? Why do they feel so powerful now? This video is for that transformation. Before we continue, understand this clearly. This is not a video for the soft. This is a protocol for the few who rise. If you're ready to become unreadable, emotionally sovereign, strategically distant, mentally untouchable, then type this in your mind. I choose strength over softness. Because today, your mind stops being a battlefield and becomes a kingdom. Now, the laws begin. Before we proceed, tap like and hit subscribe. Because what comes next exposes the power society hopes you never recognize. The shift that makes you harder to read, harder to move, and impossible to control. Law 1. Do not react first. Emotional silence is sovereignty. Weak minds react. Strong minds observe. Untouchable minds calculate. Manipulators don't need power. They just need you to react without thinking. When someone tries to provoke you, what they're really doing is mapping your emotional triggers. They want to see what flinches you, what pressures you, what scares you, what you defend, what you need. Because the moment you react first, you reveal the exact weapon that can be used against you. Here's the dark psychology truth. The one who speaks first loses the psychological advantage. The one who reacts first reveals their weakness. The one who breaks silence first exposes their need. Machiavellian strategy is built on this principle. Let the other person move first, because movement exposes intention. In your everyday life, this applies everywhere. Someone insults you. Stay silent. They reveal their insecurity. Someone pressures you. Pause. Urgency exposes manipulation. Someone tries to guilt trip you. Detach. Guilt needs cooperation to work. Someone seeks a reaction. Deny it. They lose control. Your emotional silence is not weakness. It is dominance. When you stop giving instant reactions, the world loses its leverage over you. You become unreadable. You become untouchable. You become sovereign. Say this affirmation. I master the pause. My silence exposes truth. Law. 2. Limit your access. Distance creates power. People do not respect what they can easily reach. They respect what they must earn. Your time, your attention, your presence, your emotional availability. These are currencies. And most people go bankrupt because they give them away, like loose change. Here's the truth. A person who is always available becomes invisible. A person who is selectively available becomes magnetic. Distance is not avoidance. It is elevation. Scarcity increases perceived value. Silence increases perceived depth. Distance increases perceived strength. This is why Machiavelli warned leaders to avoid overfamiliarity. When the powerful become too common, people forget their power. Your distance forces others to step correctly. Your scarcity forces others to respect boundaries. Your limited presence creates gravity. If you're always replying instantly, you teach people your time is cheap. If you're always emotionally present, you teach people your heart is unprotected. If you're always available, you teach people you don't value yourself. But when you limit access, your value rises, your presence intensifies, your boundaries become unbreakable. Say this affirmation. My access is earned, not given. To become mentally untouchable, you must first understand one thing. People don't control you with force. They control you with what you fear losing. Once you learn how the human mind attaches, reveals, and reacts under pressure, the control other people have over you begins to collapse. That's what these next 3 laws accomplish. They break the psychological chains society asks you to put on yourself. Let's continue. Law 3. Detachment. Freedom from emotional capture. Most people are not controlled by others. They're controlled by their own attachments. Attachment to being respected. Attachment to being liked. Attachment to approval. Attachment to outcomes. Attachment to relationships. Attachment to identity. This is why manipulators win. Because they threaten something you fear losing. The truth is harsh, but liberating. You are only as weak as your neediness. People who can't walk away get controlled. People who depend on emotional validation get used. People who fear being alone tolerate disrespect. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It means you don't beg for closeness. You don't cling to outcomes. You don't force relationships. You don't chase approval. You don't crumble when someone withdraws affection. The detached mind sees clearly because it isn't blinded by desperation. Imagine a negotiation. Person A needs the outcome desperately. Person B prefers the outcome, but can live without it. Who has the power? Always person B. This is why detachment is considered one of the most dangerous psychological traits, because a detached person cannot be manipulated. They can love deeply, but they don't collapse when someone pulls away. They can care sincerely, but they don't sacrifice their dignity to be accepted. They can pursue goals fiercely, but they don't break when the world resists. Detachment is simple. Care. without clinging. Love without losing yourself. Give without draining your soul. Engage without being owned. When you master detachment, you stop negotiating from fear and start negotiating from strength. Suddenly, you become someone no one can corner, guilt, or emotionally trap. The moment you no longer fear losing something, you gain control over yourself. And that is the foundation of mental untouchability. Law 4. Strategic ambiguity, the power of not being fully known. People attack what they understand. They fear or respect what they cannot read. Most individuals overshare their plans, fears, emotions, mistakes, hopes, insecurities, triggers. They expose their psychological blueprint without realizing it. Why? Because they crave connection. Because they confuse openness with trust. Because they want approval more than power. Because they are addicted to being understood. But the harsh reality is, the more predictable you are, the easier you are to control. Strategic ambiguity is not deceit. It is selective transparency. You reveal 30%. You conceal 70%. You answer questions thoughtfully, not automatically. You keep some of your plans unspoken. You don't announce your vulnerabilities. You don't explain your emotions in detail. You maintain mystery without being cryptic. Here's how powerful this is. When people cannot read your motives, they project their own. When people cannot predict your actions, they adapt to you. When people cannot decode your personality, they become cautious around you. Strategic ambiguity turns you into a psychological mirror. People don't see you. They see their assumptions, and assumptions can never be used as weapons against you. This law protects you in relationships, work, negotiations, power struggles, conflict, leadership, and social dynamics. People fear the unknown. People respect the unpredictable. People hesitate around the unreadable. When you become someone who feels deeper than what they show, you gain a presence that quietly dominates rooms without trying. Being fully known is comforting. Being partially known is powerful. Master this law, and you instantly become harder to manipulate, harder to pressure, and harder to emotionally disarm. Law 5. Silent leverage, influence without force. Most people think influence requires dominance, volume, intimidation, or persuasion. But real psychological power is quiet. There is a concept in dark psychology known as silent leverage, the ability to shift the emotional atmosphere without saying a single word. Silent leverage comes from self-control, patience, strategic presence, emotional silence, observing instead of reacting, and letting others expose their intentions. Most people rush to speak. The powerful rush to watch. Imagine being in a disagreement. Most people raise their voice, interrupt, or try to dominate. But the person who sits back, observes, and responds calmly destroys the rhythm of the aggressor. Your silence becomes pressure. Your calmness becomes authority. Your patience becomes domination. Silent leverage is built from 3 psychological weapons. The power of the pause. Pausing makes people uncomfortable. Uncomfortable people reveal more than they intend. The weight of presence. When you don't flinch or rush to respond, others sense your depth. The strength of alternatives. If you're not dependent, you're not controllable, and people feel it. Silent leverage is invisible influence. It is how powerful people guide outcomes without appearing forceful. Manipulators collapse around someone who cannot be baited. Bullies collapse around someone who doesn't flinch. Controlling people collapse around someone who doesn't react. When you master silent leverage, you command quietly, and the world listens loudly. Human beings are simple to understand once you learn one fundamental truth. People reveal who they are by what they try to take from you. Some will take your attention. Some will take your energy. Some will take your confidence. Some will take your sympathy. Some will take your boundaries. Some will take your identity. And many do it subtly, without raising their voice, without showing aggression, without ever admitting the intention behind their actions. If these insights are reshaping how you see strength, distance, and control, tap like and hit subscribe. Your support matters, and it helps this message reach more people who are ready to evolve beyond emotional weakness. The next 3 laws expose these attempts and turn you into someone who sees beneath people's masks, someone who cannot be emotionally ambushed, someone who becomes psychologically untouchable, because nothing slips past your awareness. Let's continue. Law 6. Controlled vulnerability. Show 5%. Hide 95%. Most people misunderstand vulnerability. They believe showing everything is authenticity. They believe emotional exposure builds trust. They believe openness earns connection. But total vulnerability is not authenticity. It is emotional nakedness. And emotional nakedness invites psychological predators. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People only value what you protect. They exploit what you expose. Controlled vulnerability is the practice of intentionally revealing only a small selected part of yourself, just enough to build rapport, trust, or relatability, while protecting the deeper parts of your mind from exposure. This is how powerful people operate. They share some emotions, not all emotions. They reveal a few personal details, not their entire history. They admit small weaknesses, not their deepest wounds. They show kindness, but not desperation. Controlled vulnerability isn't deception. It is emotional strategy. Here's why it works. When you reveal everything, people lose respect. When you reveal nothing, people lose connection. When you reveal just enough, people lean in. A practical example. Someone tries to get close to you too quickly, asking deep personal questions early on. Instead of pouring out your heart, you give a light, general version of the truth. Calm, minimal, clean. You maintain connection without sacrificing power. You express humanity without losing mystery. You remain relatable without becoming exploitable. In dark psychology, this principle is called selective self-control, the psychological shield that keeps your core unexposed. When you control what people get access to, you control what they can use against you. Law 7. Mirror psychology. Reflect, don't reveal. People don't fall in love with who you are. They fall in love with how you make them feel. People don't trust you because of your traits. They trust you because they feel understood. People don't follow you because you're superior. They follow you because you reflect their inner world. This is why mirror psychology is one of the most powerful techniques in the human behavior arsenal. Mirror psychology means matching someone's emotional tone, matching their communication style, speaking in their rhythm, reflecting their concerns in your responses, allowing them to see themselves in you. Most people listen to respond. Powerful people listen to understand. Influential people listen to reflect. Here's how it works. When someone expresses stress, you don't say, "Calm down, it's not a big deal." You say, "It sounds like this is weighing heavily on you." When someone expresses excitement, you don't say, "Okay, cool." You say, "That means a lot to you, doesn't it?" When someone expresses insecurity, you don't lecture them. You reflect the emotion behind the insecurity. The psychological effect? People feel seen, and people bond instantly with those who see them. But here's why mirror psychology makes you mentally untouchable. When you reflect, instead of revealing, you become the observer, not the exposed one. You learn their emotional triggers. You learn their needs. You learn their motives. You learn their fears. You learn their patterns. And knowledge is the foundation of psychological power. The one who reflects learns. The one who reveals gets learned. Law 8. Predator awareness. Detecting manipulation before it begins. Most people get manipulated because they don't know manipulation is happening until it's too late. Manipulators don't always look dangerous. They often appear charming, helpful, vulnerable, friendly, attentive, generous. The most dangerous predators wear the softest masks. Predator awareness means developing a mental radar for shifts in tone, hidden motives, sudden affection, sudden urgency, subtle guilt, inconsistencies, emotional bribes, strategic silence, conditional kindness, charm that feels too perfect. Here's the brutal truth. People who want something from you will disguise their intentions. That's human nature at its darkest. Predator awareness teaches you to watch the pattern, not the gesture. One act of kindness means nothing. Repeated kindness followed by requests means something. Watch for emotional debt. "I did this for you" is one of the oldest manipulation tactics in human history. Watch for urgency. Manipulators rush your decisions so you don't think. Watch for imbalance. Someone who wants too much information too quickly is not safe. Watch the silence. Predators often go quiet to create uncertainty and pull you closer. The mentally untouchable person does not fear manipulation. They simply detect it early. They analyze people like chess pieces, not with paranoia, but with awareness. They understand that human nature is a blend of beauty and danger, and that wisdom means seeing both. Once you develop predator awareness, you stop being prey. You stop being emotionally reactive. You stop falling for superficial charm. You stop handing out trust, like charity. Instead, you become someone who moves through the world with eyes open and mind sharp, a person who cannot be blindsided, guilt-trapped, or emotionally captured. There comes a point in your psychological evolution where you stop responding to the world the way ordinary people do. You no longer rush to explain yourself. You no longer chase validation. You no longer panic when someone withdraws or becomes distant. You no longer collapse emotionally when life pushes against you. At this level, you begin to operate from psychological scarcity and cold logic, the two forces that make a person mentally untouchable. These last two laws are not for beginners. They are for the person who has already tasted disappointment, already survived betrayal, already learned that the world does not bend for those who beg. These laws create the type of presence that makes people think twice before disrespecting you. They create the psychological gravity that makes manipulators avoid you. They create the cold clarity that allows you to walk through chaos without losing yourself. Let's continue. Law 9. Unavailability as respect. Your absence commands more power than your presence. People assume that being present means being valued. But psychologically, it's the opposite. The more available you are, the less people respect you. The less available you are, the more they notice you. Humans instinctively desire scarcity. We chase what we cannot easily have. We admire what we cannot easily reach. We value what we cannot easily replace. This is why the person who is always reachable becomes forgettable, and the person who is selectively unreachable becomes unforgettable. Think of the people who command the most respect in any room. They are rarely the loudest, the busiest, or the most accessible. They are the ones who move with intention, whose time is not free, whose emotional presence is not casual, and whose attention is earned. This law has 3 levels. Level 1. Scarcity of time. You don't respond instantly to everything. You don't rush to be available. You don't stretch yourself thin just to be liked. People subconsciously respect those whose time is limited. Level 2. Scarcity of emotional access. You don't give people unlimited access to your inner world. You choose who gets to know you deeply. You protect your emotional energy like currency. The fewer people who can emotionally reach you, the more powerful you become. Level 3. Scarcity of presence. When you are in a room, you are grounded and controlled. When you are not in the room, your absence is felt. This is the highest level of psychological influence, when your presence shapes the room and your absence shapes people's thoughts. Here's the key to mastering this law. You don't withdraw to punish people. You withdraw to protect your value. Unavailability is not coldness. It is self-respect. When you stop giving unlimited access to people, you stop being taken for granted. You become someone people measure their words around. You become someone whose attention means something. You become someone whose boundaries shape the interaction. This law is the difference between being liked and being respected. And in the real world, respect will take you further than affection ever will. Law 10. Cold logic over warm emotion. The mind that cannot be manipulated. Most people make decisions emotionally and justify them logically afterward. They do what feels good, not what is wise. They choose what comforts them, not what strengthens them. They respond to pressure instinctively, not strategically. This is why they get exploited. Manipulators don't need power when their targets are emotional. They only need to press the right button. You become mentally untouchable when you reverse this equation. You think first, you feel second, you act last. This is the philosophy behind cold logic, a mindset based on clarity, not comfort. Cold logic does not mean lack of emotion. It means you don't let emotion drive the car. It means you don't chase people out of fear. You don't argue when silence is stronger. You don't cling when distance gives perspective. You don't react instantly to provocation. You don't make promises when excited. You don't make threats when angry. You don't make decisions when wounded. Cold logic gives you power because it removes leverage from others. People can manipulate your emotions, but they cannot manipulate your reasoning unless you surrender it. Here's what a cold logic mind does in difficult situations. 1. It pauses before responding. Manipulators suffocate in silence. 2. It evaluates the motive, not the message. People reveal their intention through patterns. 3. It chooses the strongest long-term move, not the prettiest short-term feeling. Real strength is delayed gratification. 4. It separates facts from narratives. What happened versus how I feel about what happened. 5. It never negotiates under emotional intensity. Emotions distort perception. Clarity comes in stillness. When you operate through cold logic, you become immune to guilt trips, emotional bait, pressure tactics, flattery, provocation, false urgency, and psychological games. This is why cold logic is considered the final evolution of mental strength. It is the stage where people cannot pull you back. People cannot pull you forward. People cannot move you sideways. People cannot confuse you. Because your decisions are no longer reactions. They are calculations. Cold logic is what creates a mind that sees clearly, responds wisely, and remains unbreakable even when the world tries to bend it. Here's how to integration of laws 9 and 10. When scarcity governs your presence and cold logic governs your mind, you reach a state very few people ever achieve. You become psychologically self-contained. You don't crave, chase, collapse, or cling. You don't over-explain, panic, or people please. You don't lose yourself in storms, conflict, or chaos. You walk through the world with quiet power. People feel it, manipulators sense it, predators avoid it, and the world responds to it. You now understand something most people will never learn. Power is not loud. Strength is not aggressive. Control is not external. The strongest mind is the quietest one. The most dangerous person is the one who cannot be emotionally moved. The most respected individual is the one who chooses when to be seen, when to be heard, and when to disappear into silence. The 10 laws you've learned are not tricks. They're not tactics you apply once and forget. They are a shift in identity, a complete rewiring of how you see yourself and how you understand people. Before we close this journey, let us integrate everything. If you follow these laws, you will notice a shift. Slow at first, then undeniable. You will move differently, think differently, respond differently. People will feel it before you do. One day, someone will try to provoke you, and you won't react. One day, someone will try to manipulate you, and you'll see it happening before they speak their second sentence. One day, someone will try to guilt trip you, and you'll watch the tactic fall apart like a broken tool. One day, you will realize that the emotions that once drowned you now feel like ripples against granite. One day, you will look in the mirror and see someone who survived everything meant to break them and came back stronger, colder, quieter, wiser. This is mental untouchability, not arrogance, not cruelty, not superiority, just quiet power. These laws are a psychological map, a manual for navigating human nature with precision and power. But memorizing them is not enough. They must become part of your identity. To become mentally untouchable, you must step into a new version of yourself. The version that does not rush to speak. The version that does not need external approval. The version that sees through motives instead of words. The version that responds after thinking, not before. The version that commands presence without trying. The version that is selective with time, attention, and energy. The version that chooses clarity over chaos. The version that walks away with dignity instead of fighting for validation. A mind like that cannot be manipulated. A mind like that cannot be broken. A mind like that becomes its own fortress. You must understand. This world respects the people who respect themselves first. Not the ones who try to please everyone. Not the ones who bend under pressure. Not the ones who live emotionally exposed. Not the ones who react impulsively. Not the ones who fear being alone or misunderstood. The world bows for the self-directed, the self-contained, the self-controlled, the self-aware. You do not become mentally untouchable by changing others. You become mentally untouchable by changing yourself. When your emotions no longer hijack your decisions. When your fears no longer guide your choices. When your attachments no longer control your actions. When your mind becomes your ally instead of your captor. You step into a rare category of human being, a person who thinks clearly, moves strategically, loves wisely, acts slowly, and cannot be manipulated by chaos. This is the protocol. This is the path. And today, you've taken another step into becoming your highest, strongest, quietest form. If this message revealed the strength you were never taught to claim, tap like and hit subscribe and drop this in the comments. I choose strength over softness. Because once you make that decision, you stop bending for approval and start moving through the world with quiet, undeniable power.